Chapter 7. Saying goodbye. I stayed home on Friday to help my parents, and because I didn't want to say goodbye all over again to my friends at school. We packed more boxes, and then I went shopping with Mom. She was looking for 2 chairs to match the couch she'd already picked out. I liked being with Mom. I liked driving around during the day. I spotted a herd of boys who were walking home from school with what seemed like weights in their shoes. Their steps were really slow, as if their backpacks weighted them down. And me, my own feet were jumpy. I was happy. I shook my head out the van's window and let the wind whip my hair. I opened my mouth like a hippo and swallowed gobs and gobs of air, but I clamped my mouth shut when Mom warned, "You're going to swallow a fly if you keep it up." Then it was Saturday, moving day. But first, I had my final ballet class. I shooed Rascal from where he was sleeping in my dance bag, grabbed it and a bottle of water, and raced down to the van. Mom was dropping me at class early so that she could pick up the new chairs and have them at home when the movers came later in the day. "Hello, Marisol," Mademoiselle Juliet greeted me when I arrived before the rest of the class. She was at the bar where she had a leg up and her head lowered to her knee. Her stretch was incredible. Mine was pretty good, and I knew that Miss Mendoza's was really good, but Mademoiselle Juliet's picture perfect. After all, she had studied at an academy in Paris, and for 3 summers, she'd been an assistant ballet mistress at the Royal Ballet School in London. "Bonjour, mademoiselle," I answered in return and said, my bag on a bench. I took off my shoes and put on my dance slippers. "So, you're moving after all?" Mademoiselle asked. I nodded and reminded her that this was my last class with her. I said all this with a lump in my throat. I swallowed 3 times and the lump went down. If I had had wings on my shoulders, they would have slumped. That's how sad I felt. Mademoiselle did quick sets of relevés and échappés. She rested for a moment and then fixed a look at me. "Your hair," she said directly. Mademoiselle is picky about our hair being out of place. She said that messy hair means messy poise, and for her, poise is just about everything. I redid my hair with a ribbon as she turned back to the bar. Up went her leg for another stretch. "I hope you're going to keep practicing," she said to me in the mirror's reflection. "Claro que sí," I answered. I started to stretch too. "Claro que sí," Mademoiselle echoed in her French accent. She's learning Spanish from her boyfriend. She stopped and turned to face me. "Marisol," Mademoiselle said, "you have a lot of talent." She reminded me of how, when I first came to her studio, but mon frappe was forced. But now it is natural. I like the compliment, but I knew that but mon frappe isn't really natural. I am trying, but ballet is still a stretch for me. "I hope I can find another ballet studio," I said. I told her about displays and about Karen and how she likes to dance too. But I also told her that Karen's teacher had moved away. My feet had moved into Shen, and Mademoiselle eyed the flashy work of my feet. "Très bien," she remarked and added something else in French I didn't understand. Finally, she translated, "Breathe. Do not hold your breath." Mademoiselle is also a stickler about breathing. In truth, I wasn't sure whether I would be able to continue with ballet or any kind of dancing and displays. Mom hadn't mentioned it, and even if she had, finding a studio didn't look promising. It was funny because I was starting to really like ballet. I like a lot of things. Besides dance, there's soccer, volleyball, 2-square, and tetherball. Actually, any competitive sport except grungy football gets me running. Heck, I would challenge Mr. Mendoza to dominoes if I could get into the senior citizen center. "So what should I do?" I asked myself. "Everything," answered the person who lives inside me. Suddenly, the ballet studio filled with other girls, including some tiny ones who came up to my waist. They ran to the bar and began doing series of runs de jambe, one of the basic forms. Meanwhile, I continued stretching and practiced positioning my feet. When Mademoiselle clapped her hands and called out, "Positions!" I ran to the bar myself. She scanned her students, asked for quiet, and announced, "Let's start with a few minutes of développé. For us, this is a 5-step movement that slowly stretches a leg outward. I stood in preparatory position at the bar. I inhaled and exhaled. I glanced down at my ballet slippers. I saw that they were a little frayed and the toes were dark and scuffed from hours of practice. "Lift," Mademoiselle called. I couldn't help imagining that we dancers were a centipede as all of our legs lifted together into the air. We repeated the développé 10 times and then switched to the right leg. This was followed by pliés and relevés. "Back straight," Mademoiselle called, "and breathe, please breathe, my buttercups." The really little kids exhaled and inhaled. I laughed at the way they exaggerated everything, even the floor exercises that we did next. Finally, Mademoiselle clapped and called out, "C'est bien, mes petites. That's all for today." Then she continued, "Now, as you know, next month we'll start preparing for the Nutcracker. We'll talk more about that next time." Everyone started talking excitedly. My heart sank at the thought of missing the chance to perform. I started ballet after Mom and I saw the Nutcracker last year, and I had been hoping for a small part this year. I was still just a beginner, but even beginners got roles. Maybe now I'd never get a dance on stage, not even as a mouse or an angel, much less as a snowflake. I stuffed my things in my bag at the end of class, my eyes filling with tears. As I said goodbye to some of the other girls in the class, Mademoiselle came over and gave me a small box. "Open it when you get home," she said. "Merci, Mademoiselle." I must have said it right, because she just nodded and gave me a hug. I hugged her hard and then ran to the car, wondering if I'd ever get the chance to be a real ballerina. Sarah came over Saturday after her ballet class. "Where is everything?" Her words echoed off the walls of my empty bedroom, but she knew. Most of my stuff, my stereo, the trunk with my special things, my precious posters, even my bed, was either taken apart or packed up for the move to the new place. I had only some boxes, a flashlight, a book, and my sleeping bag. With the stars in the ceiling, it was like camping. "Packed," I answered. Sarah sat on the floor with her legs shot out in a V. She did a stretch and touched her head to her knee. Then she spied my bare foot and asked, "Where'd you get that?" "From Mademoiselle," I answered. She had given me a tiny toe ring to remind me of her and of my year at her studio. "That was really nice of her," Sarah murmured. Then she said, "Guess what? Your dad got you a motorized scooter?" I had my feet pressed together and my hands were pushing my knees to the floor. Sarah laughed. "I wish." She shook her head. "Nope. Mademoiselle told me this afternoon that she wants me to be one of the rest in the Nutcracker. Sarah has been taking ballet not longer than I have, and is in a more advanced class." "You go, girl," I said as I cradled my leg and rocked it like a baby. "You'll be a perfect rat." I released my leg and dropped my shoulders. I just wish I could stick around for the Nutcracker. I asked Mom, but she said it'd be too hard to drive back and forth every weekend. "You'll find another studio in Des Plaines," Sarah said. She chewed at a fingernail. "You think so?" I asked. "I know so," she said. "I can just feel it. You're a dancer and you need to dance, so you will," she declared simply. Listening to her made me laugh, but I got sad all over again. That I had to leave Sarah, my best friend, my main supporter, and my favorite dance partner. Suddenly, Dad called out, "Ballerinas!" He stood in the doorway with something close up in his fist. "Guess," he said with a grin. "Money," Sarah answered. He laughed as he unrolled his fingers. Sitting in his palm were a rubber ball and jacks. "Where'd you find them?" "The same place I found some coupons, doctor bills, an old calendar, some broken crackers, a hairbrush, rascal's collar, and other stuff." Behind the refrigerator? Sarah guessed. You got it. How many times had Dad rolled the refrigerator away from the wall to let me search for something? One time I was looking for a plastic ring I'd lost. After Dad grunted and jiggled the refrigerator from its place, I found a real ring. I mean, one with a stone. Dad challenged us to jacks, and we played on the living room floor. I was surprised by Dad's stretch. He could almost touch his head to his knee. And not only is Dad limber, but he can really play jacks. He beat me and then beat Sarah, and he would... He would have beat Mom, except she refused the challenge. She was going over her list of boxes once more before the moving truck came. Let's play again, I challenged. He had already beaten me 5 times, but I felt lucky this time. You're sure? He asked. He squeezed the rubber ball in his fist. A muscle in his forearm shimmered. I'm sure, I said. Okay, once more before. Okay. Once more before I take Sarah home, he agreed. The movers will be here soon. I threw the jacks and they spun like stars on the wooden floor. I took the rubber ball from Dad, squeezed it, and bounced it twice. But it slipped away from my grip and seemed to hurry away. Rascal, who had been sleeping near Mom, woke with a start, narrowed his blue eyes to the ball, and pressed after it. He pushed it with his paw like it was a hockey puck. He rose up onto his back legs and gripped it in his mouth. He spat it out and whacked it again. But how clever my cat is. Yeah, he hiked it like a football between his back legs. The ball bounced off the radiator and ricocheted off the kitchen cabinets. Stop it! I yelled as Sarah and I scrambled to our feet. Rascal leaped after the ball and kicked it under, you guessed it, the refrigerator. Dad moaned, let's just let it stay there for the next family. So he left the rubber ball there. And as for Rascal, he beat it outside when Dad opened the front door. Dad and Sarah descended the steps for the 5-block ride to Sarah's home, but first Sarah and I hugged each other and made our private promise that we would be friends for life.